G'day fellas, welcome to a casted game. Spawning in the east of the map, he's from Age of Empires 2, playing the Abbasid dynasty. It's ACCM. And his opponent, spawning on the opposite side of the map over in the east corner. You know him as the best player of Age of Empires in the world. It is, of course, TheViper, and he is playing the Rus for us today. I'm incredibly excited to be able to bring this game for you. For anybody unfamiliar with TheViper, I'll leave a link down in the description over to his YouTube channel and his Twitch channel. I'm sure you will be familiar with him because he is a player that is an absolute beast. This guy has played a hell of a lot of Age of Empires, a lot more than I have, and he is considered by many to be the greatest of all time. Now, there's quite a bit of lore about this guy for anybody who doesn't know. He's been playing since he was incredibly young. As far as I'm aware, his dad is also in the scene. So, look, my dad, he's also an RTS gamer, so I know what it's like to come from RTS bloodlines. And incredibly excited to see what Viper is going to be able to bring to the party when it comes to Age of Empires 4. For anybody unfamiliar, TheViper was confirmed to be on the Age Council. I think that's what it's called. Essentially, it's the council of Age of Empires players that was advising what they wanted Age of Empires 4 to look like. And he was on that council. We actually saw him in a couple of videos. And so those videos were posted by the developers. And subsequently, we can see that he is now playing in this this creator preview. Incredibly exciting to see him over here. So we'll take a look over at ACCM. We'll take a look exactly what he is up to. ACCM looking like going for a relatively standard opening here. We see that he's opening quite heavily on gold. So probably looking to get some form of economic upgrades in the early game. We can see he's already got the mill out. And the fact that he's going for this lumber camp and he is so heavily on gold indicates to me that he might be thinking about a wheelbarrow upgrade. There's the chance he could go for something like survival techniques as well. But we do note that he hasn't really looked around too far for that hunt. He actually hasn't spotted the hunt that's behind his base just yet. And there's one also to the north of his base. He's not yet spotted that either. He's only actually spotted a hunt of his opponent. And that, of course, is Vipers. Now, interesting to note that ACCM has actually got a second scout out in the early game. He is playing against the Rus. The Rus are a civilization which, unlike any other, hunts Gaia in the early game. And you can see that Viper is only, at the moment, sitting on 25 bounty. So that's quite low for what you'd expect. If you take a look at the minimap, see what he's discovered. He'd actually discovered this hunt over here. Sorry, where is it? The hunt is over here. It just bugs out a little bit when we go into his player perspective. So he has actually uncovered that, but undoubtedly he will continue out onto the minimap and look for more hunts to be killing. But he does have this one back here. You can see he's already killed a couple that are closer, but there's a wolf down here he's going to have access to as well. So I'm curious to see exactly how competent Viper is on the Rus. These are a newer civilization. We don't really know much about them. Don't really know the way that they've been played, but I will say right now, from off the bat, the Rus are definitely a popular pick. A lot of the games that I've seen have been French and Rus. So I would expect to see a lot of Rus coming out of Viper and out of a lot of the other top players. We can actually see ACCM moving up onto this hunt. Watch as he goes and snipes these huntable deer. Straight away we see Viper moving in and looking to get the shots before him. And it looks like ACCM managed to pick up that one. We didn't see any gold come through. Now Viper does manage to get that one there. So very, very cheeky. If Viper was smart, he could potentially take this down. But once again, look, ACCM just on the ball here in the early game, really putting Viper in a difficult spot. Viper really wants to be getting all these wolves, you know, luring them back to his town center, letting the town center take them out. That way you don't waste time using your scout. So looking forward to seeing how Viper evolves. He looks like his macro is pretty on point at the moment, about to be hitting that up. I'm curious to see which direction he goes for, whether he looks for the economic wonder or whether he looks for the fort or the castle. The Kremlin, it is what it's called, I apologize. And it does look like he's going to be dropping down that Kremlin. So many villages, 6 villages going down here. It's a 4-minute landmark that he's putting down here as well. A curious decision. That's a lot of villages that you're going to be putting on here. You can see he's actually dropping down a house next to it. I expect that we're probably going to see a lumber camp down here very, very shortly. So curious to see what he can bring to the table. We'll go have a look over at his opponent, ACCM, and we'll see exactly what he's up to. ACCM now going up, of course, with the economic wing. It's pretty much the standard go-to when it comes for playing on maps like this, where you've got a fair bit of uncertainty as to what your opponent is going to do. There's so many options as to what your opponent could potentially do here, so it makes sense to just go the economic wing. We take a look that he is not actually getting any stone, so he's in the transition period. Typically, we do see the 2 TC meta is what is favorable at the moment. so there's no stone coming out at all for ACCM this early, so I'm interested to know what his thought process is. We do see that he is actually going for that wheelbarrow, as I suggested a little bit earlier, and looking forward to seeing how he plays out this one. Nonetheless, let's move back over to Viper. We'll take a look down to the south, up to the north, see how they're going, and check in with Viper, see how he's doing. He's about to get that landmark finished. For anybody unfamiliar with the Kremlin, it is obviously unique to the Rus. Let's take a look exactly what it does. So it acts as a wooden castle that comes with arrow slits, castle turret, and castle watch technologies already researched. So when it comes to this building, so first and foremost, the wooden fortress is quite expensive. It's a lot more expensive than a normal outpost. It's 175 versus 100. So it acts as one of those. It can also it also has all of those upgrades as mentioned. So it's got a whole bunch of upgrades. And then in addition to that, it also has an influence bonus around it. So lumber camps and town centers within influence return 20% more wood. So it's basically, it's not giving you, well, it's not taking 20% wood extra out of these trees. It's just giving you an extra 20% wood out of thin air. Incredibly strong landmark. Very, very nice pick up for Viper. I'd be curious to see whether he does opt for a lumber camp at the front here. I do suspect that he will eventually, but looking forward to watch exactly how he does play this. Down to the south though, he has already got that stable out. We can hear how loud that is. The horses begin to neigh as he begins to get some early knights out. I think these are knights. They could be lancers. Let's find out. They're early knights. Now keep in mind, some civs have lancers, some civs have knights. They are the exact same thing. It's done for, I believe, for geographical reasons, because typically throughout history, some civilizations had knights while others had lancers, but for game balance reason, it's obviously kept the same. Up to the north, we spot a little bit of a hunt already going down. Viper already up here hunting on this hunt. This is a curious decision. One of the things that we do see out of Rus players, instead of going for early hunts like this, what they'll actually do is research this technology here. Professional scouts, but Viper staying one step ahead of the curve and actually sending villagers up here to come and hunt. Now, I'm curious, does ACCM have knowledge of this? He doesn't have knowledge of this, so really, really great to see Viper, you know, thinking outside the box, because technically this is ACCM's hunt, and he's already on the board with it, so really nice start from him. But now we begin to see Viper moving out across the map. He's got a couple of lancers or knights that have now pushed out. You see them there with their big jousting swords. I don't know, what, I think I need to learn exactly what these are called. I'm just going to call them jousts. No, that can't be right. There's got to be something. There's got to be a technical term for it. If you know what the technical term is, leave it down in the comments. ACCM bringing a couple of villagers back towards his town center, just being safe, playing it safe. Double, we've got a double artillery range. Double archer range. Gosh, I am losing it right now. I think I need a drink. Give me a second. The Red Bull coming out right now. All right, there we go. Much better. All right, feeling much better, but we take a look now down to the south, and we see Blacksmith has already come out, already getting +1 damage for his ranged units. Now, keep in mind, Camel Archers typically have a very high, or not typically, Camel Archers do have a very high base damage. So you're only really increasing the damage that you do by 10%. So you're going from 10 damage up to 11 damage. It's still, you know, it's still pretty decent, that much damage. But definitely the right choice when it comes to trying to counter these early knights. And down to the south, we see more knights coming, looking. We'll take a look over at Viper's perspective. We see exactly what he's uncovered. Not a whole lot. He does actually spot there is a dead animal down here to the south. Does he potentially move down here? There is actually no villagers there, but looking to force back ACCM off that wood line and also getting under attack, taking out that wolf on the way. We take a look at his bounty. He's built up 200 bounty at the moment, so another 50 bounty is going to be sitting on that tier 2. That's ideally where you want to get in the early game. In the first 10 minutes, if you can get that, you're feeling pretty decent. So hopefully we see him take out, you know, the rest of these deers here. That'd get him up to 230. And then if he's got any sheep in his base, he could look to do that. But now we've got a bit of a raid coming in here. ACCM bringing in a couple of camel archers. And it looks like the pathing there wigged out a little bit. I'm not sure if you guys saw that, but a scout is going to be going down as a consequence. Down to the south, back in ACCM's base, and Viper comes in, almost gets a kill on that villager, but you can see ACCM has actually got the upgrade, the textiles upgrade, which is available at the town center. It looks like Viper has also got that upgrade, so it increases the HP from 50 up to 75 HP. And now Viper again raiding, multitasking. One villager going to be going down for Viper. A little bit more of a raid up to the north as well. We'll try and keep track. And a second villager going down. Third villager going to be going down. Viper doing a great job. Viper's villagers now going to be putting some pressure on the camel archers as well, as there's absolute pressure everywhere. A knight now getting moved away by a couple pikes and continuing to do so much damage here. Viper has killed so many villagers. A huge lead beginning to build now for Viper as all of these villagers look to be going down. ACCM has now finally just realized that all of these villagers have gone down, and Viper says, you know what? We'll call it even. We'll call it even. Let's do a quick stock take. We'll have a look how different these villager counts are. We got 32 villagers over for the Viper versus 24 villagers now for ACCM. So 25 for ACCM against Viper's 33, an 8 villager lead this early in the game. I don't know how I'm feeling, but I tell you what, Viper is looking absolutely sweet right now. You can see just how much that Age of Empires 2 skills carries across. He is literally fighting on 3 separate fronts. He's microing villagers and archers in the north here. He's raiding on these berries. He's raiding down on this wood line, and he's able to micro all of this. He didn't lose these knights, so they're still going to be able to get out here. They're still able to fight. We see them beginning to push out. More pikes now going to be going down. Archers looking to come in and really finish off ACCM at this point. We see Viper's score now pulling ahead. You see down in the bottom left-hand corner, or rather in the middle, bottom left. Middle right-hand, let's go with that one, Drongo. That's a bit better. About 300 points ahead, and now an outpost looking to get up. ACCM's going to need this outpost to get up if he wants to make sure that he's going to be able to stick on this wood line. You see that the archers are just trying their best to trade effectively against these camel archers and having a difficult time as he pushes more and more of them back, taking out a couple of pikes as they bring through. And now we've got enemy attacking landmark. I'm not exactly sure where that is. Do we have... It's over here. Viper's over here raiding again. Oh, my lord. Oh, gosh. You know that guy here is just an absolute insanity. And now going to be continuing just to harass. That outpost does get up. So ACCM's woodline is going to be safe at this point. But once again, keep in mind, Viper has done so much damage here. Sitting on 37 villagers. You compare that to his enemy, who's on 28. So the villager lead, I was going to say the Viper lead continues to grow. But I guess it does technically as well. I'm curious to know whether Viper does get eyes on this. He does know that the berry patch is here, just doesn't really know what his enemy is up to on there. Now Viper coming down to the south and looking to harass another outpost down here from ACCM that he's put up. Going to be able to hold on for his dear life for the moment, but he's in a difficult spot. Now the question is, what can ACCM potentially do to get back into this game? In my opinion, there's really not much because he didn't open with a second town center and he's down so many villagers. If he had lost this many villagers being on 2 town centers, then it would be a lot more reasonable because then he'd be able to catch back up. The fact that he's only on a single town center means that it's going to be much more difficult for him to actually catch up. Viper looking out to trade right now against ACCM. Viper still yet to get that +1 upgrade that we see ACCM does have, so he's going to have a little bit of an advantageous trade. But now Viper moving in, another outpost going down for ACCM and looking to defend here. But the question is he going to be able to hold this this outpost? Because we can't actually see it, but I think this outpost has got about 1,000 HP. Viper does actually fall back. You can see how much damage is getting done to this. It's not a whole lot of damage. Looks like about 8 damage of volley. So I mean, it's going to be slow but steady damage that comes out. But now another raid coming down here on the back line. Let's check in on ACCM. He's down to 27 villagers. It's a tough time for him. And Viper is absolutely all over this. We see just how much line of sight he's got on the map compared to his opponent. He's at all angles. And you can really see why they call him the GOAT. He is just so incredibly talented when it comes to this stuff. We've got more research in queue now. So going to be getting that +1 armor, +1 ranged armor. We've got double archery range back at home. We'll take a look at his macro, see how he's doing. He actually looks like he's going to be thinking about the 3rd age here. Curious to see which landmark he does go for, because when it comes to the landmarks, we can't actually see which one he has access to. But I'm hoping that he goes for the religious landmark. I can't remember off the top of my head exactly what it's called. We'll have to wait and see. But now Viper moving in, looking pretty decent. I think he probably could have finished off these archers, but I think he's probably waiting to commit until age 3. And now we've got, it's the high trade house that comes in. So for anybody unfamiliar with this acts as a hunting cabin already. So ideally, if Viper could be placing it down right here, that's where it would really get a lot of value out of it, because what happens is it generates gold depending on the amount of trees that it is next to. So if it's next to a lot of trees, it's going to generate a lot of gold, and it actually gets 200% gold. In addition to that, it also spawns a deer. Did you guys hear that villager? She was so close to making that house and she got really upset that she wasn't able to make it. But nonetheless, Viper beginning to move underneath the town center, appreciates just how much damage that town center could potentially put out, decides it's best to fall back, and appropriately so. That was just a house that was going up, so curious why that villager was so passionate about it. But let's talk a little bit more about this high trade house just before we get back over onto this fight. So it's going to spawn a deer every 60 seconds. It also acts as a food drop-off point, so you can make farms around this in the late game as well. So this is one of my favorite wonders in the game, the High Trade House, because it basically enables you for the rest of the game to have essentially infinite food for 5 or 6 villagers. You don't have to make a farm for them at all. So you can see Viper's already put down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, sorry, my counting's a little bit off. Yeah, 6 farms in his base. That is going to enable him, this landmark is going to enable him to put down there will be 6 farms less that he has to put down. And as a consequence, when you do 6 times 75, that's 450 wood. That's a lot of wood that this is saving you from having to put down. So you can see already the villagers are now going down onto this landmark. That is going to generate faster. So in addition to that, he's also got the hunting upgrade. So it is the fastest source of food, or one of the fastest sources of food in the game, which is why you want to get into it. So it's faster than farming. It's faster than sheep. It is as fast as boar, if I remember correctly. So it's really, really important that you get out there and get onto these hunts, or in the Russ's case, you bring them to your base, because that's what they can do. Going to be out in the middle here. Let's see if he's got any of these upgrades through yet. Just the knights, just the archers. Doesn't have any veterancy on these units just yet. Archers now moving back for ACCM. He's going to be chased back to his base, looking to regroup with a couple more archers, but having a difficult time because we do have the +1 armor for the range now for the Viper coming in. And we also see, do we have veterancy up just yet? It doesn't look like it. Do we have any veterancy coming through? We do have veterancy archers, or veteran archers coming through very shortly. The knights making quite a decent connection here. We can see the health is getting low in a couple of those knights, so curious to see. ACCM does identify that, picks them off. He forces ACCM back into his base. A single pike now coming out. Viper looking like he's in a commanding lead at this point, pulling up about 900 score as well. A huge lead coming out for Viper. He's looking incredible. 48 villagers now. Compare that over to his opponent, who's on 37. So down 11, and Viper rather gets the GG, wins the game. Congratulations go over to the Viper. If you've enjoyed this game, make sure you leave a like. If you think I missed something, make sure you leave a comment. And if you'd like to see more from the Viper, I'm sure you probably know who he is and where to find him, but I'll leave a link down in the description to where you can find him. He's known as the greatest of all time, and it is for a damn good reason. Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you guys in the next one.